Welcome to the Counter Narrative Podcast, a show designed to change the way we talk and think about education. By sharing stories of successes and triumphs, we aim to challenge the dominant narrative that often negatively portrays our disenfranchised populations. I'm your host, Charles Williams, an educator for 15 years, a current school principal in Chicago, and an educational consultant. Let's get started. So look, before we jump into this episode, I wanted to share a special holiday promotion that my friends over at Kick It Apparel are currently running. For a limited time, you can get customized gear at some amazing prices. I'm talking $25 hoodies, $15 tees, and $10 masks. These are the same people who hooked me up with my awesome Counter Narrative hoodie. Check them out at kickit.store and tell them that Charles sent you. This episode is a Pause to Ponder segment. These bi-weekly sessions will allow me to share with you my personal thoughts and reflections on a wide spectrum of topics as they relate to education. It is my hope that you will be able to take something from these segments and apply it in a meaningful way as you continue to do amazing work. Remember, while we all have different roles, we all have a single job: educating our students. Welcome to 2021. It's kind of awesome that these last two episodes, this and the Christmas episode, which if you haven't listened to yet, go back and take a listen. You won't be disappointed, I promise. Go ahead, I'll wait. So, what did you think? Well, that's obviously rhetorical, as I can't hear your responses, but feel free to drop me a line at any time and provide some feedback. Good or bad, it will be appreciated as I continue to learn and grow in this journey. January 1st. It's the first day of a new year. A year, especially after this last one, brimming with hope, with promise, with potential. But the truth is, these things don't just happen. While 2020 was undoubtedly horrible for a large portion of the country, heck, for the world, there are those who capitalized on opportunities. In fact, the US alone added 56 new billionaires this past year. That's billionaires with a B. Now I know this is a side note, but have you ever considered the immensity of a billion? I mean, it's crazy. If you haven't already seen it, I would like to recommend that you check out Humphrey Yang's $1 billion rice video, or for those of you that prefer a more linear approach, Tom Scott's $1 billion driving video. Not now. Wait. I mean, you're in the middle of an episode. Well, it's technically not the middle, but definitely go check them out once you're done listening. Anyway, 56 new billionaires were produced this year, bringing the total of billionaires in America to 659. And this small group of individuals holds nearly 4 trillion with a T, which is approximately double what the 165 million poorest Americans are collectively worth. It's crazy. And I get it, right? I mean, there's a lot wrong with this picture, right? But to be honest, this is not the space where I'm about to dive into the wealth disparity of this country. I mean, it exists, and we know that. It's grossly unjust, and we know that. But I've little expertise in that arena, so I will leave that topic for someone else, though I would love to hear your thoughts. My point in bringing this up is that there were a number of people who decided to capitalize on opportunities presented to them during this past year. And truth be told, there existed opportunities, while maybe not as lucrative, heck, or even financial that existed for most of us. Opportunities that, whether we realized it or not, came and went. And this year will be no different. Which brings me to the purpose of today's pause to ponder. Every year, people develop resolutions that, more often than not, fail to manifest into reality. I truly believe that the biggest contributor to these failed goals is not the lack of ambition or even the lack of will. Instead, it's a lack of a clearly defined objective. Let's consider a common resolution: financial security. Now compare these two statements. I pledge to become more fiscally responsible. Or, I pledge to allocate at least 10% of each check, though the recommendation is 20%, to my savings account. Which is easier to track? Which is easier to hold yourself accountable? The more specific you are, the more likely you will be able to achieve your goals. So as we enter into this new year, I want you to think carefully about your one word. I want you to be thoughtful about your resolutions. How can you redefine them so that they are as specific and measurable as possible? I also challenge you to find someone who will hold you accountable. It's easy to convince ourselves, right? I mean, how many times have we talked ourselves into skipping a class or watching just one more episode? It's not so easy, however, to convince others. Find someone you can trust. Someone who you know will be honest and understanding, yet steadfast. If you can do these two things, you will be able to capitalize on the opportunities that make themselves available to you. And to prove it, for those of you who may be skeptical, I will share here in this space 3 of my goals for the upcoming year. And I welcome all of you to help hold me accountable. I mean it. Feel free to check in on me and ask how things are going. Feel free to extend opportunities that would assist in reaching these aspirations. So first, I have signed on with Code Breakers to draft my first book. This is super exciting, but it's also a daunting task. I mean, I've never written a book, although I've drafted many in my mind. The overall goal here is to have this thing done within a year. That means I need to compose anywhere between 30 and 35,000 words over the next 12 months, or approximately 3,000 per month. So that's my goal. I will draft at least 3,000 words per month for the next year to complete my first book. Now, my second goal is to book at least 6 speaking engagements during the upcoming year. I figured, one every other month. Right now, I'm already scheduled to present at both IdeaCon and the Illinois Principal Association's annual conference. So look at that, right? I'm already a third of my way to my goal. That means I only need 4 more. So, if you're looking for a speaker, feel free to contact me and we can get something set up. Now, my third goal may be a bit cliche, but the truth is that I've allowed myself to become way too comfortable during these past few months, and I can both see it and feel it. Now, I don't have a specific weight or anything, but instead I want to become more active. So with that in mind, I pledge to engage in some sort of physical activity, whether it's walking, lifting weights, or even Zumba. I really love Zumba. For at least 30 minutes per day, for at least 3 days per week. Now, I would love to hear what you have planned for the upcoming year, so please share out across social media and be sure to tag the show in all of your posts. Remember, be specific and find someone to hold you accountable. Let's have an amazing year together. Until next time. I want to thank you for listening to the Counter Narrative Podcast.
If you like what you are hearing, please be sure to like and subscribe. The show can be found on Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and several of your other favorite platforms. This podcast is also featured on schoolrubric.com, where you can find educational articles, videos, and interviews with educators from around the globe. Be sure to connect with the host and other listeners by following the show on Twitter at the CN Podcast and joining the show's Facebook group. Take care.